Syndra is by far the best comp right now. If we look at the top player, Syndra is his second most played in both his latest 20 and latest 50 games, and Karma is there too. But the thing is, Karma is being played a lot as a support unit. Sometimes she is the main carry, not going to deny that, but a lot of times when you play Syndra, you play Karma, because turns out there are 5 different ways to play Karma right now, and even if you're contested, even if you don't hit Syndra 3, there are options to kind of climb with this comp. It is very, very good. We're going to go over all of that right now. The first version of the comp is going to be the classic Syndra Cassiopeia comp. And by the way, these comps are not in order of strength. Each variation is good as long as you play it when it's the right time to do this. So this one's pretty standard. You get Syndra in the backline 3-star, you get Cassiopeia 3-star if you have enough money for her, and if you have enough items. Then for the front line, you 3-star one of the tanks, Nico, Shyvana, or Swain. If not, you use Nasus. Honestly, some games you could even get away with a Swain 2. Swain 2 is just the best 3-cost tank by far. And it's going to be pretty straightforward. This version is a 6 Shapeshifter version. If you get a Shapeshifter spatula, congrats. But the most important thing whenever you're playing Syndra is getting an early Syndra. So I like getting it early stage 2. Late stage 2 can work if you have perfect items for her. And by that, I mean having 2 items for her. If you get her in stage 2-5 or 2-6, sure. But generally, I like having Syndra right away at the start. That's when I would consider playing this. And if you get a bunch of Shapeshifters, just throw them in. This is like the old way to play. It's the most popular version, I would say, but there are newer ways to do this. So what if you are contested? What can you switch to? Well, you could try the Mage version. So if you get a Mage cap, very good on Syndra, not required. You don't need this, but getting to 5 mages makes her cast so much. I remember getting my first Syndra early in stage 3. And someone else had Syndra all the way since stage 1, and they had a Spear of Shojin on her the whole time. And then once I got Mage Cap Syndra, I think I caught up. I had like 120 stacks or something like that in like stage 5, if I remember correctly. Absolutely bonkers game. And I had, I think, like 30 or 40 more stacks than the other person's Syndra at that time. But this comp works pretty well. It's going to be with like Vanguard. Some people call this the Vanguard version, but there's 2 Vanguard versions, it turns out. And same items on Syndra, Shojin, Rageblade. Oh yeah, let's go over the items. What's buildable on Syndra? So pretty much there are a lot of items that work. You do not need exactly... What do we have here? Like Shojin, Nashor's, Jeweled Gauntlet, or Rabadon's Death Cap. There's so many different items that work. You could do like Red Buff. You could do Rageblade. Rageblade works out great. Archangels is good. Hextech Gunblade could be a 3rd item. Adaptive Helm, if you don't have Spear of Shojin, Adaptive Helm is very good. Rabadon's Death Cap is great. Sometimes I even throw a Morello on my Syndra because sometimes I pivot into Karma, which we'll talk about a bit later. But essentially, you're not pigeonholed into very specific items whenever you're playing Syndra. But this one revolves around 5 mage. You could do 3 mage. So if you don't have Nora, don't have the Mage Cap, still perfectly a fine comp to play. This is the core build. So you go Syndra, Galio, Mordekaiser, Vex, Karma, and Nami. And whoever you 3-star in the front, that's going to be your main tank. Oftentimes, it's going to be Galio because Galio and Syndra are both 2-star units, but sometimes you don't get many Galios. You could play with Mordekaiser or Vex instead. Or you could play with one of the 2 flex units that you have in this comp because there are only 6 units here. What can you do instead? Well, you could do the 4 Vanguard version, which is right here. So you have Rumble there and Tahm Kench. You could do the same thing, 3-star Rumble, 3-star Galio, whichever one you get 3-star, make as your tank. Tahm Kench, if he's 2-star and you got no one else 3-star, not the best tank, but still serviceable because really the power is going to come from behind when your Syndra is going to be hitting like a truck with all her stacks. What's really good about this build and the build we saw just before is Nami is a great utility unit. She could use either Shojin or Blue Buff. Both work, but Shojin's a bit easier to build because you don't really want too many swords in this comp, and getting 3 tiers, 1 for Shojin, 2 for Blue Buff, gonna be a little bit difficult. So just throw whatever mana item you can on Nami. She is like one of the best CC units in the game, but you need 3 mage for her to work. So Vex plus Galio is gonna take care of that for you. This Vanguard version is really good if you started the game with Vanguards or don't have many Shapeshifters. You could even do some sort of like Bastion frontline in the early game and then switch to the Vanguards later on. Essentially during stage 3, you're kind of playing around which tank liners you're going to be able to hit more likely. So is it Shapeshifters? Is it Vanguards? Do you have like a Mage Cap or something like that? Each version is going to depend on that. So items for the front line, Galio, Mordekaiser, and Vex all really like Crown Guard, so I like building that a lot. On carousels, I'm going to be taking Rods a lot because Syndra's an AP carry, Nami can use AP, Karma can use AP, and Crown Guard is also really good. So if you have like your Shojin Nashers or Shojin Rageblade already, keep getting rods if you want some like flexible item for both offense and defense. If you just need pure defense items, then Chain Vest is really good. Again, you can make Crown Guard, Steadfast Heart, Bramble Vest. All the tank items will do. You don't need to copy these exact items. I kind of made them use all different types of components because we get random components in TFT. So because of that, I kind of spread the love a little bit. I think the best combo would be like a Steadfast Heart plus Crown Guard. These two items synergize great together. Third item, I made Declaw because we haven't used Cloak in the comp yet. But if you're looking for other tank items, Redemption's good, but again, you want the tiers for other things. Vow, same story. Actually, Ionic Spark is still good. I know that you get the magic penetration on Syndra built into her kit after 15 casts, but Spark is just a good early game item. You could always just use it. What else do we have? Adaptive Helm is good. Warmogs is good. Sunfire Cape is usable too. Not my favorite, but it is usable. And of course, Stoneplate also pretty decent. All right, let's go into the next version of Syndra. If you can't get Vanguards, if you can't get Shapeshifters, what do? You're going to be going the Wukong carry. This Wukong carry is absolutely bonkers busted. You do not even need Wukong's Augment. What's it called? Spin to win. Obviously, if you get this, fantastic. You're going to win the game if you get 3-star Wukong and 3-star Syndra. But you do not need his Spin to win Augment to go for 3-star Wukong. You could instead run a bunch of Preservers, Wukong 3, and Syndra. So before we get to this build, let's take out Milio, let's take out Morgana, let's take out Rakan. Those are all expensive units, right? This is the base of the comp. Wukong, Syndra, Zilean, Karma, and Bard. And Karma, honestly, it could be any Incanter. Just type in Incanter here. Any one of these will do until you get a Karma. So this is going to be one of the strongest versions of Syndra, but the one caveat is that you need a ton of gold to make this build work because Wukong 3-star, very, very, very difficult to get because he's a 3-cost unit, very expensive. It's not that people go for him, it's just hard to do 3-cost 3-star in this meta right now. But if you are able to make this work, fantastic. If you're on loot subscription, gold subscription on the portals, this is going to be fantastic for you. One of the higher caps of this comp. Same items on Syndra, just like Shojin Nashers or like Adaptive Helm if you don't have either of those. Red Buff, Rage Blade, like the same garbage always works. Just slam whatever item you can on Syndra. Obviously, Shojin Nashers is going to be the best, but whatever items you get, just throw it onto her. And for Wukong's items, Stone Plates are the best item. I want to have at least 2 stone plates, but instead of the 3rd stone plate, you could build either a Bramble Vest or a Dragon Claw. Both of them work just fine. You just want a lot of resistances on Wukong because he does more damage based on how much armor and magic resistance that he has. And then since Wukong is a druid, which means he doesn't have any trait, what you want to do is add in all the preservers that you can. So we have Zilean, we have Bard, oh, they're already in there, and then Rakan, Morgana. Who else did we want? We need an Incanter here, so we'll get that. And then you might be wondering, what do I run after this? Because even though I listed out all these champions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units, what should we run instead? Well, you just type legendary or 5 costs into the taskbar or whatever, and then you just play these units. Like it could be Milio, it could be Diana. Diana's probably the best one. It could be Yuumi. Literally anyone will work. Just get like a 2-star legendary in there eventually. But you have a bunch of flex spots if you really care about that. But this is probably one of my favorite versions of the comp. It's just a little hard to pull off because you need the Wukong 3-star. But again, don't have Shapeshifters, don't have Vanguards, go for this. All right, next one up we have is Eldritch. So this one I would only play if you have School Mascot. If you ever get School Mascot, this is a fantastic version of the comp. You just go 7 Eldritch, and you don't need the 3-star. You could just do 2-star Syndra, and you'll be winning a lot of games anyways. Like, I promise you, it's really, really good. Another good thing about this comp is that you run 7 Eldritch, so that means you could flex the 8th spot. And if you have an Eldritch Spatula, that means you could flex 2 spots. So getting Incanter's nice, especially if Syndra is your main carry still. Getting a Karma with blue buff, Morello, blue buff, red buff, going to be great, of course, but what are other things you could hit? Because we can't always get Karma. She's contested all the time. Well, you could run Fiora. You could run Gwen. Both of those give warriors, and depending on what items you slammed in the early game, you just throw them on them. So if you have Bloodthirsters are good for them, Edge of Night's decent, what's it called? Like Jeweled Gauntlet's good, Crown Guard's good on Gwen. Lots of different stuff can work here. Titans works on both of them. Like they use any item essentially. So it's really good to kind of get these people into your comp. So when you roll down on level 8, you kind of just see what 4 stars you're hitting and just play around that. What else can you play with this? You could also play Shapeshifters. You could add in a Nasus, even though you already have Shapeshifter. He's just a decent tank because you really just need to stall for Karma and Syndra to kind of kill everyone. What else could you play? You could play like a Vanguard. You could get Tahm Kenshin. There's so many different things you could play with this comp, but it really pops off with School Mascot. I wouldn't go for this as a 2-star Syndra without it, but I have seen the 7 Eldritch version played with 3-star Syndra before. It's just not the best thing ever. Now you're gonna ask me, what if like 2 other players are going for Syndra and there's no way I can hit Syndra 3? I rolled down, not possible. What should you do? Well, there's one really cool thing you could do, and we're gonna look at this comp as the base. So you might notice you already build like a Shojin on Syndra, and maybe you have like an AP item on her, like a hat or something. Who can use these items that work really well with this build? Oh, you just go like this, put them on Karma, take her out, and then do any of the other Karma comps instead. So when do you want to pivot out of this? So let's say you're in stage 3, you have a 2-star Syndra, but you see so many other people going for Syndra already. All you have to do is just use your Syndra as a temporary item holder, get some 2-star tank, maybe like a Swain 2, and then just go level 8 and roll for Karma. That's all you have to do. Play any of the Karma comp variations. There's a Chrono Karma, there's a Witchcraft Karma, there's like the Preserver Karma, there's the random Karma plus anything. I've seen Karma played with Nami, I've seen Karma played with Rise. Like literally, you could play anything as long as you have 2 4-cost carries and a 4-cost tank, you could play Karma. So if all that is contested, unlucky, there must have been something else you could go in that game, but I gave you like maybe 8, 9 different comps you could play just by going Syndra. 5 of them actually involve Syndra, and 3 or 4 of them you pivot into Karma, but sometimes you could even keep Syndra in your comp. I've seen that being done before. For example, you stacked a 2-star Syndra from the very beginning. You have like a Shojin and Nashers on her, and then you just play Karma anyways, or just play any of the other carries. Like you could do Nami carry. I've seen her do really well. And you just play the other versions of the comps that we saw here, but with the 2-star Syndra instead of a 3-star Syndra. But it also works. I'm not even kidding you. You might get 3rd, you might get 4th, you might not win, but getting LP is LP, and Syndra is just that powerful right now. So what you do when you have like a 2-star Syndra is you don't stack like the 3rd item on her, you focus on whoever your 4-cost is, and then eventually later on in the game, if you have extra items, yeah, sure, throw something on her, but focus on your tanks. Get maybe like 2 tanks to 3-star because you really want Karma to kind of blue buff everything down. So you just need to focus on your tanks and then just have Syndra as your secondary carry. But hopefully this kind of gives more clarity into how flexible Syndra is. So even if you're like a Syndra Forcer, like there's so many different ways to play her. There might be even more ways than I'm not even thinking of here. But those are the ways I've been seeing her played on ladder by the top players. And honestly, it's like most people's most played comp. But again, looking at the rank 1 right now, it's like one of his most played. You could look through his games. It's Spencer_TFT on Twitch. And there's a lot of Syndra. Like sometimes the Syndra is in a Karma game, but sometimes the Karma's in a Syndra game. They both go hand in hand. It's just the very good AP carry right now. And yeah, hopefully this video helps you out. Let me know how your climb goes. Hopefully not too many people go Syndra after watching this video.